You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This episode of Chiro Hustle is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Chiro Sushi, Chiropractic Unity, Pure Chiro Notes, and the Chiro Dex app. Let's hustle.
Hello everyone, welcome to episode 6 of the Chiro Hustle podcast, and it is a hot one today. I am your co-host Luke Millette, and here's your host, Jim Chester.
Everyone get ready for Dr. Brad Ellisor and the founder of the podcast, Kids Eating Broccoli. So if you want to learn about eating and chiropractic, stay with us. Hey everyone, I have an amazing guest with Luke and I today. This is Dr. Brad Ellisor. He is out in the Pacific Northwest. He is somebody that's come onto the radar pretty strong lately. He started a podcast called Kids Eating Broccoli. And without any further, Dr. Brad, let us know a little bit about your chiropractic story and what influenced you to become a chiropractor. And then we'll jump into your phenomenal podcast.
Okay, well, thanks so much for having me today. I appreciate it. I think my chiropractic story, I'll try to be brief, but I think it's a little unique, at least in my experience. So I had an undergraduate degree in geology, and I graduated in upstate New York from Vassar College with that. Moved across the country to Eugene, Oregon, and basically spent about 3 years avoiding what I thought was my next step, which was grad school for geology, mostly because I realized I didn't want to be in a lab all day staring at a microscope. But I didn't know what I wanted to do. And one day I was by myself in my house and laying in bed, just kind of slowly getting up. And I thought, you know what? It's like I've been avoiding this for 3 years. I must not really want to do this. What else might I do? And, it's kind of like, it's funny when I visualize it, it's like I looked around and saw that there was nobody there to hear my own internal thoughts. So I opened my mind to whatever possibility. I thought, like, what am I good at? What else might I do? And without going down this road too far, I realized I was really good at petting my cat. And I know that sounds ridiculous, right? But it was, here I am in my own internal world, right, thinking about it. And I thought, you know what, I should really do something with my hands. I should really do something where I'm interacting with people in that way. What could I do? And the first thing that popped into my mind was massage therapy. And then I thought, well, I don't really want to do that. I want to do something that I can take further. And then I thought, I should be a chiropractor. Now, keep in mind that I had never been to a chiropractor. It wasn't part of my upbringing. My parents never went to chiropractors. And not that I was taught they were bad or quacks or any of that kind of stuff. It just wasn't part of the deal of what we did. And so I lived in Eugene at the time. I thought I'd just be able to go to University of Oregon, get my chiropractic master's, move on. Learned I couldn't do that, and then I was going to have to pick up and move. I also had to do some prerequisites before that. But it was so interesting because, this just popped into my head one day, like I said, because I was thinking about my cat, honestly. And but I never questioned it. I did my prereqs. I did another year of school. I moved down to the Bay Area, went to Chiropractic College, did all that stuff. And each step along the way, as I learned more about chiropractic, sorry about that phone in the background.
It's probably a new patient, bro. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Each step of the way, when I learned more about it, I was like, oh, that's why I'm here. Oh, that makes so much sense. Oh, that's why I'm here. When I learned the vitalistic principles and where chiropractic was founded, with the above, down, inside out, and how, we all have that, our innate intelligence guiding and directing everything. It was like, oh, of course, that's what I'm doing here. And then in chiropractic school, I remember hearing a few people mention, you don't choose to be a chiropractor. Chiropractic chooses you. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's kind of cheesy, whatever. And then one day I was like, you know what? That's actually what happened to me, Like I was just laying there one day and chiropractic came and tapped me on the shoulder and said, you. So here I am.
Well, yeah, man. So how long have you been at it? How long have you been out of school?
I graduated in 2004 in June, so 13 years this month.
Okay. And what have been some of your cool experiences so far? I know you have some kids, and I know you're married. Do you guys I think your wife's a chiropractor?
No, she's a doula and a birth educator, so she works with pregnant women and women giving birth.
Oh, right on, man. That's really cool. So you guys are a good team together.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And you got some pretty special kids too, and they're eating broccoli, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So tell me, Dr. Brad, do you have any mantras or quotes or words of wisdom that you live by?
Yeah, I have quite a few. And I was thinking this morning, I was driving my daughter to a school program kind of thing, listening to music on from my phone over the stereo. And one of my favorite songs was on, and I thought about, because, I had a feeling you guys might ask this question. I thought about, what is it that keeps me motivated? Because I was thinking from that perspective. And so I'm going to read you the line from this song, because I really, whenever I'm feeling sort of unmotivated, this is actually music I listen to that kind of recenters me to what I'm up to. So it is, we know what we are for and how we become so informed, bodies of info, performing such miracles. I am a miracle made up of particles. And in this existence, I'll stay persistent, and I'll make a difference, and I will have lived it.
Yeah, man, that's spot on. It just kind of clears everything up and lets you know what your purpose is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, that's, I think of, all the things I do, in chiropractic and being a husband and a father, and with the work I'm doing with the Kids Eating Broccoli podcast and the different things there. And the reason that all of those things tie together is just that understanding that, like I was saying with chiropractic, how it all made so much sense, that we all hold that, that power of life inside. And I look at it, all of it as, we all have a genius inside. We all have something unique to express into this life, into this world. And to the degree to which we can access that is the degree to which we can sort of live up to our purpose in life. And so what I discovered as part of my role is, in my own way, helping people be able to access that in a greater way through the chiropractic adjustment, through the understandings of vitalism and what we do, through a healthier life as a kid and in families, and creating a legacy of that health. Because that same principle, that same innate power within us that, makes us healthy or has us function at high performance, or all those great things that we talk about health, is the very same that is that expression of our own, unique genius in life.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about Kids Eating Broccoli?
Sure. So Kids Eating Broccoli is a project and a podcast that I began, I guess, January of this year. And the mission is to reach 20 million families worldwide to make a difference in the health of the next generation. And basically it was born out of my realization as I started interacting with my own kids' peers, how really problematic, how downhill the health of that generation is going, and my desire and my feeling of responsibility to really make a difference in that. And so I've been doing this chiropractic and health for many years, and been a parent for 10 years, but I'm certainly no parenting expert. So I figured, what a great opportunity to get experts out there in health and parenting and nutrition and all that kind of stuff to talk to me and to tell me their best, to give me their best insight and info, and then I can share that with my audience and ideally make that difference in the world.
Sure, man. I can see that the thing's growing. I can see that you're doing a lot to help people with this information. What would we be able to accomplish if more people knew about the Kids Eating Broccoli podcast? And I have a follow-up question to that as well. So, what could we accomplish if people knew more about what you're doing?
Well, I think that the potential is limitless. If we can turn around the direction that the health of our younger generation is on. And, my little tagline or whatever is, make the next generation the best generation. It changes the trajectory of the whole world, honestly, because if we have a population of young people turning into adults who are able to access all of their creative genius and have, good function and good health and positive outlooks, all of the things we look at as problems in our world, have potential solutions. So I think that that's a big one. And I think the other one, the other piece of that is that when we take the steps necessary to change the health lifestyle habits of our family for our kids, that we create a legacy of health. Because research tells us that the most likely way that we will raise our own kids in terms of those type of habits is how we were raised. So if we as parents, I say that, I have 3 little kids, take the steps to make a difference, then it's much more likely that our kids will raise their kids with a healthier lifestyle, and then their kids and their kids. And so we actually affect future generations as well.
That's totally spot on. And to add into that, when I meet people that are looking for a chiropractor, I meet tons of them, I tell them it's easier to make healthy children than fix broken adults.
Absolutely. Way easier.
And, when people let themselves get into that subluxation complex for so long, and it doesn't just affect the way that they eat, then it affects the way that their spine moves, and it really takes people's lives over, and they have no idea that that's like the silent grab on them. And the other part of that is eating well. And what you guys do as chiropractic is you help people with their subluxated lifestyles. You guys help unleash the innate potential that you're talking about. You guys are making healthy families, healthy children, healthy adults. It's a no-brainer to me when I think about how people, really could think about the 4-dimensional lifestyle, the eat well, the think well, the move well, and the get adjusted. And I always tell people are desperately searching for these first 3, the eat well, think well, move well, which is James Chestnut. And I add in the get adjusted. And I say to people all the time, what if we just put get adjusted first? Don't you think the other 3 would just follow?
Absolutely. I think that's an astute observation. And that's honestly at the root of everything that I attempt to teach in everything I do. In chiropractic certainly, but with kids eating broccoli and lifestyle and all that stuff. Because, the truth is that everybody else on the planet, meaning all the other animals, they already know how to do all that stuff, right? They eat the things they're supposed to eat, and they eat the right amount, and they stop eating at the right time, and they move how they're supposed to move, and so on and so forth. And the truth is that we have that inside as well. We're no different in that way, but we've certainly lost our way. And many of us, the vast majority, have lost our ability to hear that inner knowing, that inner voice that tells us all of these things, that tells us what to eat and how much of it and when for optimal vitality and so forth. And so absolutely, that's a huge part, not a huge part, that's one part of the hugeness of the chiropractic adjustment, is that you do have greater access to that. That's our innate right there. And so if we allow that to flow more effectively and more fully through the system, then we naturally will start to make those changes. Absolutely.
Yeah, and the other add-on to that is I think that people aren't eating for survival anymore. They're not eating like they're surviving on that food. They're eating because it's a pleasure thing or it's a habit thing. And I think that the behaviors change because when we talk about animals in the wild, they're all out there eating for survival, man. And, when we're eating, we get to make all these decisions. Do I go get pizza today? Do I go eat broccoli today? Do I go get, whatever it may be that your consciousness tells you that you should get? And that's the thing, is we can get pretty much whatever we want, and all things have become affordable to us. So there's no real limitation other than making our minds make good decisions.
It's true, and the reality is that even in this world we live in, if we put the practices in place and do the things to really allow ourselves, like I was just saying, to hear that voice, we can still navigate our way through this world. Now, it's not quite the same as, if you're wandering around the jungle and everything is organic and natural and raw and all that stuff, right? I mean, you got to go to the grocery store and there's all the shelves and shelves of processed stuff. But the truth is that, in the last couple of generations, 2 to 3 generations, our food supply has really been hijacked by the chemical industry. And so a big thing we deal with now is the fact that the food system is designed to cause us to not be able to hear that inner knowing anymore. And so it is quite a challenge and a battle that we have. And that's also really why, out of all the lifestyle things I could talk about in terms of, my podcast, why I went with food, because I think that in a lot of cases that's such a primary source, particularly now, because a lot of the additives and chemicals and flavorings and toxins in our food supply are put there essentially to cause us to lose that ability. You've heard the statement, like with a bag of chips, like you eat one, you can't just eat one, right? Once you eat one, you got to eat the whole thing. And that's actually designed into the food. And that's literally you losing touch with that ability to know, like, hey, I just ate 4 of these, I should stop. Or I just ate 1 of these and now I feel like crap, so I should stop eating them and never eat those again, or whatever that voice would tell you.
Yeah, but the food's tricking us.
Absolutely.
It's tricking us to eat that more and that next and that last, and then the bag's cleared.
Exactly.
And I like to tell people, not just because it's enjoyable, but I tell people all the time that actually we're feeding ourselves sick. Like most of the times when people are getting sick and not feeling well and have lack of self-esteem and they're sluggish, it's because they fed themselves to be sick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So tell us, Dr. Brad, what would be the top 3 tips you can give to people to help them and their families eat more healthy?
I would say, let's see, I gotta bring it down to 3. Yeah, that's good.
Desert Island picks.
Okay, so here's what I would say, and we're talking about, from like the parent's perspective. I would
sure.
So I would say the primary thing, and this is where I try to start with anybody and anything, is as a parent, it's being the example. And that sort of sounds simple, and I guess it is. But I don't just mean like sit in front of your kids and eat kale. What I mean is be the example. Start with you and really look at your relationship to eating, your relationship to food, and your relationship to being able to hear that voice that we've just been talking about. So I'd say that's number 1. And then in terms of sort of the more like nuts and bolts stuff, the other thing that I always start with when I talk with parents is really limiting or completely getting rid of processed foods from their kids' diet, because of, again, what we were just talking about, that the food tricks us, and it's in processed foods. That's a huge part of it, that the flavoring additives and those type of things literally do trick our brain, and they set up an addictive pattern, just like street drugs do. And when we're kids, we haven't often, depending on the age, they haven't emotionally developed to the point where they can have an experience of ingesting a chemical, feeling good or feeling a high from it, having that high go away, and then make the decision to not eat more of that thing. Like emotionally, they haven't developed that. As adults, ideally, we can make that, we call that willpower or whatever. And so getting the processed foods out of the diet is definitely another one. And then the third one, in terms of parents and having their kids eat healthier, is getting the kids involved in the creative process. And so whether that means having them shop with you at the grocery store, that's one of the exercises I give people. Have your kids, each of them pick something out of like the produce area that maybe they've never had before, and then have them, look up a recipe online and put that into the food. Another great one is having your kids be part of the, like if you have a garden in your backyard or wherever, get them involved in that. I mean, I see my kids eating like mustard greens out of the garden, and those things are spicy and bitter, and it's like because they're part of it, they're like chomping away at them, And so I'd say those are the top 3.
Those are all very good tips. So you personally, everyone has a different answer for this, but where do you personally see the chiropractic profession heading in the next 5, 10, or even 20 years?
Well, that's a good question. Because I feel like we're really at a precipice as a profession, in part because the public really, really wants what we offer. And in most cases, they don't even realize that, which is fine. That's sort of the evolution. So we have the potential to really take some huge steps forward in the next 5 to 10 to 20 years for a lot of reasons. Social media, the internet, the ability to get the message out in a sort of grassroots method. And I think we have the potential as a profession to really step into the leadership position in terms of, health and true wellness, and the paradigm shift that's underway in the healthcare field to actual wellness rather than sick care. So ideally, we'll be positioned as the leaders in that, the primary health professional that a family would work with to be healthy, stay healthy, and prevent illness and so forth, rather than having what we talk about now is like a family doctor, but basically somebody you go to when you're sick. So ideally we do that. I think it's going to take certainly some big steps in terms of unity or unifying the profession, realizing we're all on the same team. But I think we have the potential certainly to do that in a very short period of time, within my career at least.
Well, for everyone's sake, I sure hope it happens sooner than later. So,
absolutely.
What do you think is the most effective way to get the message of chiropractic into the minds of the everyday, ordinary people? Like, what's going to drive the point home?
Do you mean in terms of how the message is disseminated, or what the message is?
Well, just educating them in general.
Or maybe the platforms that we get it to them on.
Well, I think that we're just scratching the surface in terms of the potential impact online with things like social media, and I think that if we, as individual practitioners and then as a profession, we're able to harness that, and not that we're not, everybody's new at it really, but harness that more effectively. I think that is powerful in getting the message out, because like I said, I'm a firm believer that, and my experience bears out, that the public really wants what we offer. It's just a matter of having them realize that that's what we offer, and that we don't, they don't come to us or don't think of chiropractors as the back doctor, that they, realize that they're looking for ways to be healthy. They're realizing that our current system isn't working for that, and then to understand that they can get that from us. So I think it's that grassroots level. I think it's the social media. I think that Facebook and those type of things are great because they're visual media, and they don't require the millions and millions of dollars budget that the old-fashioned media did. That the pharmaceutical industry dominates.
Yeah, and the way I see it is right now we're all kind of banding together as a bunch of little islands. And we're all doing our own little media company as a little island that we're becoming experts of. And I think that we're really harnessing a bunch of really creative, smart people that are doing really cool things. But we need, I think, in my opinion, as things develop, we need to develop a unified front and market for the whole chiropractic world. And we need to do something that I've been doing a lot of my talks lately is promote unity through diversity for the chiropractic message. And I think, just from being outside or inside, outside, whatever you want to say about my positioning with the profession, I see a lot about what's going on. And I think that the more that we could practice more unification, the stronger front we can have. And the more that people are really going to start understanding chiropractors as a whole. Because right now, I think internally it's just slightly confused as to identity. And if we can start tweaking some of the public exposure to the identity by being more secure within itself, then I think we're going to have more of a bright future, and people are going to really, like you say, wake up to the fact that chiropractic is the number one decision, and it is the best healthcare on the market, and there's nothing else that can compare to it. If you have a healthy body, you have a healthy you. I was listening to one of my favorite podcasts yesterday, and it's called I Love Marketing with Dean Jackson and Joe Polish, and there was a guy on there. He said, the guy with his health has 1,000 dreams. The guy with no health has only one.
Yeah, so true.
And it sunk with me because, this chiropractic message can give everybody their health. It can give everybody more vitality. It can give everybody a better quality of life. And something else, Dr. Brad, it's kind of getting loud for me over here, but I'm excited. I think that, I tell people, if you don't have your health, you have nothing. And, people can have all the money in their bank account in the world, but if they're physically bankrupt, what does money mean to you?
Right. Yeah, it's all going to go away in our current system, that's for sure. You're going to spend tens of thousands. Absolutely. And I think that, I totally get it. Coming into the profession when I did, in my perspective, and, we've only been around for 120 years, which is the blink of an eye culturally. And so we're evolving, and, we're coming out of our infancy as far as I can tell. And it's at the right time because now the demand is so high for what we offer. Well above what it ever has been in the history of chiropractic. But, I totally understand the difficulty, too, that a lot of us have, because it's a big job to be at the forefront of a paradigm shift when the messaging that your average patient gets, 99% of it is counter to the truth of the chiropractic message. And so it really requires each of us to be leaders in our own way, in our own communities, and then to join together in that leadership to basically help midwife this new paradigm or new consciousness about health that's being birthed right now.
Yeah, man, I love that you tie it all back together. It's always nice to talk to somebody on the other end that can figure out big ideas and then put the silver lining on it.
Yeah.
So I know you mentioned Facebook earlier. What other media outlets are you using, and what could your marketing strategies not do without?
Podcasting, and then, the Facebook is really the biggest in terms of online and social media that I've dug into. I think a large part because it's the one that has the most people and seems to have the most reach. I do a lot of video. I do a lot of Facebook Live video, and look to also distribute that as wide as I can. So, on YouTube and so forth. So that's really the main ones in terms of online marketing. I practice in a very small town. So for us, it's really just being seen in the community and word of mouth. And I think the biggest one in terms of, for the practice and building the practice and having high quality patients, meaning people that want to be here for the long run and want to bring their family members and the people they care about. That's really been my own personal growth in the certainty of what we do and the value of it. So hopefully that answered your question.
Of course.
Yeah.
For someone who uses Facebook a lot, how do you see Facebook Live evolving in the future?
I don't know, but I was just thinking about that the other day too, because as I see more and more of them on my streams, I wonder, what the next evolution of that will be. But I think it's an incredible opportunity right now with Facebook Live, because still most people aren't doing it. And whenever I do a Facebook Live, by far it gets the most engagement out of anything else I do online. And just simply in terms of how many people are exposed to it. And so I think if every single chiropractor out there did a Facebook Live even once a week, what we were talking about in 5, 10, or 20 years would accelerate, certainly. But yeah, I don't know. I'll be interested to see too. I hear there's a lot of investment in 3D. So who knows? Maybe Facebook Live, the person will feel like they're standing in the same room with me when I'm talking.
So I'm kind of more interested in, where did you learn to become such like a media agent? Where did you learn how to do the podcasting? Where did you learn how to, structure yourself to have the confidence to do the Facebook Lives? And, I know that it doesn't come easy to get on this side of the microphone and talk to people, and it doesn't get any easier getting on the camera on the other side of the phone talking to people. So where did you learn how to do this stuff, and how did you get so much confidence to do it?
Well, where I learned it is primarily working with Dr. Ed Osborne. I mentor with him, or he mentors me. I don't know, however you say that. But I work with him. He's that's where I learned the podcasting and the training with all that, and as well as like you were saying, the media company stuff. And so I wouldn't be doing it the way I am to the degree I am, and with the success in terms of exposure and all that stuff that I am, without his guidance and mentorship. So I can't say enough about how awesome that's been, or can't recommend him more highly for anybody else who's looking for that type of thing. And then in terms of just getting in front of the camera and doing all that stuff, I'm an introvert, like I think most of us are. I don't know. That's what I'm discovering. But anyway, I think it's just, knowing that you have a message that has to get out there, I think helps cut through a lot of that. And then just doing it, and doing it over and over again. When I did a Facebook Live the other day, and I was telling my wife about it because I was telling her about how somebody shared it, because they tagged their friend in the share because they were trying to explain the same thing to their friend, but they, their comment was something like, "This is what I was trying to tell you yesterday, but he does it a lot better." And so I was showing her that, but I had the volume off because the kids were asleep, and I was just watching myself. And I thought, wow, that's amazing. How animated I am, how my body language is, all of that stuff. And if I went back a few months ago and looked at a Facebook Live, it's like, other than my mouth moving, it was like a deadpan, no inflection in my voice. You know what I mean? It'd been really, really boring to watch without the volume. But now without the volume, it's like, it's kind of entertaining. And so I think it's just the repetition and the practice, honestly.
Yeah, you kind of spiked the volleyball on me about 3 months ago. You're like, smile in your videos, dude.
Yeah. Well, I had just gotten that same feedback from my staff. Like, that Facebook Live was good, but smile. I was like, oh yeah, I guess I didn't do that.
Well, it's nice to get that criticism from somebody that actually cares. And I can tell since we've built a relationship on this digital platform and met each other at Chiro Sushi that we're both on the path for something really special, man. And I've also learned a lot from Ed. And I can't say enough about how he actually gives people more confidence by just being there for them.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So, go ahead.
I was just going to say one other thing about that is also modeling just being your authentic self too. I think that's a huge thing he does.
Yeah, and on top of that, are there any other people that you like kind of watch and follow and learn tips and tricks from for the Facebook posts that you do, or any of the content that you create?
I try to interact with and follow and watch anybody who I feel like is doing interesting stuff out there. In terms of Facebook and online entrepreneurial stuff. I mean, I follow certainly guys like Russell Brunson from ClickFunnels and that kind of stuff. And then in the profession, I really love watching Dr. Tony Ebel's Facebook Lives. I think just because it's like he's so energetic and animated, I'm like trying to pick up on that a little bit for my own stuff. And so in terms of that, and then, I'm always trying to get more of the strategy stuff. So I pay attention to guys like Sean Andrews, because he gives tons of value about how to, work with Facebook. Some of those guys, the Inspired Chiropractor, I like watching his stuff too. because he's kind of got that serious thing going on, but he does a good job with sharing his message as well. So those are some of the ones that come to the top of my mind.
Yeah, man, I love those guys too.
Yeah.
I almost feel like saying the BJ quote, I love you because you love what I love.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to roll into the next question. I think Luke's going to ask you a little bit about some technology favorites.
Sure.
Do you have a favorite app or piece of technology that you use to keep you engaged with your audience?
I really like the app Blue Jeans, because it's kind of my go-to app in terms of that, because I can I've been doing my podcast interviews through Blue Jeans, so we get video as well. I can roll it on Facebook Live either while we're doing it or later, and I can take video. Or you can just run Facebook Live through Blue Jeans, but you can also record video and then run it as Facebook Live later, or video you've done elsewhere and run it as live, so on. And that's really helpful because I have multiple Facebook profiles. I have my practice, I have Kids Eating Broccoli, I have Dr. Ellisor Trusted Health Advisor, which is related to sort of the overall brand of drellisor.com, and then my personal page. And I can run a Facebook Live on one of those, record it through Blue Jeans, and then run it as if it's live on all the other ones, concurrently. So I think it's a great app for all that stuff. You can do screen sharing on Facebook Live. So that's one of my top ones for sure right now.
Well, my question into that, because I've been really interested in doing those pre-recorded and then go live. How do you interact with people when you do pre-recorded and then go live with it again?
Well, you wouldn't interact certainly verbally, but you can be basically as a viewer, so you run it and then you're on either your same computer or phone or whatever. And so if people comment in, you can type your comments back to them.
So do you think it's actually easier to interact with people on that platform?
For me, I would say yes. I'm still at the point where if I'm, because I do most of my Facebook Lives with my phone, I find that the simplest. And when I'm looking at that little screen, talking to it, when I see people either pop up like this person's watching now, or especially if somebody comments, I still find that kind of distracting. So if I could do the Blue Jeans and then interact later, it's obviously much less distracting. But I think, I appreciate those people who are on Facebook Live and then you get on there and make a comment and they actually reply to your comment right away. So I don't know. I don't know what the best practice is. I kind of bounce around with that as I get better at it.
So tell us, what do you like to read? What do you like to listen to? Are there any podcasts or blogs you follow regularly?
I've recently been into the Chiropractic Philanthropist, which is Dr. Ed's podcast, though I had never really listened to it before, just because before I did my own podcast, I wasn't really a podcast listener, which is kind of odd, I suppose. But I find that incredibly valuable, just to hear those bites from the different people in the profession. I love to watch and listen to, basically, honestly, people in the chiropractic world are very inspiring. There's the CalJam Network, which is basically, it's like $7 a month, and you get access to videos of all the speakers from all the CalJams they've had, plus a ton of other stuff that Billy DeMoss puts up there from the DCS Clubhouse and things like that. There's hours. I don't think I could ever get through all of those inspiring conversations and talks and so forth. So I love all that stuff. YouTube is a big one. I love listening to people like Dr. John DeMartini. He's been really influential for me lately. So a lot of that stuff, a lot of stuff in the profession, a lot of stuff that's in the sort of personal development world, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, man. And do you know why you like those guys? Because they're all consistent and they all deliver goods all the time, man. And that's the same reason why I like them too, is because the TPC drops all kinds of gold to people. People can learn from every episode. Billy D and his network constantly giving people what they need. DeMartini constantly giving people what they need. guys like Tony Ebel, like you mentioned earlier, constantly giving people what they need. And the more that you say things, you kind of echo chamber me, because I feel a lot of the same things that you feel. I think that, there's certain things that are out there that are inspiring us that more people need to know about. So that's why it's really cool to be able to share these talks with people like I'm having with you today, like Luke and I are having with you, is because what's happening now is people are going to listen to this and they're going to be like, okay, I need to get on Cal Gym Network. Okay, I need to listen to TPC. I need to follow Ed Osborne. I need to follow this guy or do this or follow DeMartini. And I think that, just us throwing this out to the universe, people are going to start learning from us.
Totally. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, shoot, if that's the least that comes out of this, then this has been totally worth all of our time, for sure. We turned more people onto those resources, for sure.
Yeah, man. So if people want to find out more about you and Kids Eating Broccoli and your clinic, what are some ways that they can reach out to you?
For Kids Eating Broccoli, the website that hosts all the podcast episodes and so forth is kidseatingbroccoli.com. And you can find it on, all the podcasts, iTunes, Stitcher, radio, all that stuff, just by searching Kids Eating Broccoli. So that's the easiest way if you want access to the podcast and to listen to some of those awesome people. I mean, it's like I'm working on getting better at interviewing, but the guests that I've had on have really given so much value. It's totally worthwhile. And then for my practice, it's Tenino Chiropractic Wellness Center. Tenino is a little town south of Olympia. So Tenino Chiropractic, you'll find us. We're the only guys in town. And then sort of my home site is drellisor.com. That kind of links you to everything. And Facebook is a great way to find me too. So Brad Ellisor or Kids Eating Broccoli, all of those are on Facebook as well.
Well, that's great, man. I really think that people are going to learn a lot from you as we both grow into this chiropractic world. And I couldn't say enough about how awesome it is to have you as a guest on our podcast and to be able to share everything that you're doing for your community and the chiropractic world at large. Is there anything that you didn't get to touch on that you might like to share with our listeners before we say good day to everyone?
I think I just want to say that, I really appreciate what you guys are up to. It's always really cool to me to have experience with people who aren't chiropractors but love chiropractic and are doing the kind of tremendous work that you're doing to help, build the profession, spread the message. I think that's a cool thing. I think it's likely pretty unique as far as professions go, but I guess we are that. And the truth is, I mentioned earlier that in the mission of Kids Eating Broccoli, it's to reach and impact 20 million families worldwide. And that's for real. You got to put goals or targets out there that scare you a little bit, right? I mean, that's a lot of people, but it's genuine and it's sincere. And so I really appreciate you having me on, because every chance I get to share the message in front of an audience of people gets us closer to that 20 million. So I appreciate you being part of that mission with me.
And we appreciate you being our guest today, sir.
Well, thanks very much.
And with that, I think Jim and I will be signing out now. We want you to enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you so much for being on Chiro Hustle.
Thanks again.
Yeah, man. Keep adjusting, people.
Absolutely.
See you, bro.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.